This is Kevin Coach, better known as Pirate Parrot, but the man behind the Pirate Parrot costume was more than just an on-field entertainer. He became an unexpected link in a drug chain that reached deep into the Pirates clubhouse. In 1985, baseball fans around the league found out that the Pittsburgh Pirates' own mascot,
another big league drug scandal appears to be taking shape,
was implicated in a cocaine scandal that rocked the sport to its core. And this revelation was just the tip of the iceberg. This scandal exposed a widespread culture of drug use in Major League Baseball. And as it unfolded, it became clear that the issue extended far beyond a single team or mascot.
4-month-old grand jury investigation in Pittsburgh.
This is the story of the 1985
a list of the drug dealers and a list of the professional baseball
Pittsburgh drug trials. The 1980s were a time of excess and glamour in Major League Baseball. Players like Dave Parker and Keith Hernandez dazzled fans with their skills, becoming household names. But behind the scenes, a darker story was unfolding. Cocaine use had become rampant among players. Dave Parker, a star outfielder for the Pittsburgh Pirates, played a significant role in spreading this culture. He admitted to introducing a cocaine dealer to his teammates and even arranged drug transactions for players on multiple teams, including the Pirates and the Dodgers. The problem wasn't limited to a few bad apples. Dale Berra, son of the Yankees legend Yogi Berra, testified that he received amphetamines from teammates Willie Stargell and Bill Madlock. These pills, known as greenies, were so common that players treated them like candy. The normalization of drug use within teams showed how deeply entrenched the problem had become. As the Pittsburgh drug trials unfolded, players openly discussed their habits and implicated others in their testimonies. The public was stunned to learn how casual and widespread drug use was in the league. What fans saw as an American pastime was revealed to have a dark underbelly. Keith Hernandez estimated that 40% of all Major League Baseball players were using cocaine in the early 1980s. Clubhouses had become hotspots for drug transactions, with players, staff, and even mascots involved in the trade. The lines between fans and players and dealers blurred, creating a dangerous environment where drug use was normalized. As cocaine flowed freely through the clubhouses, one man's admission threatened to topple the entire house of cards. So how did a single pitcher's cry for help snowball into a scandal that would rock Major League Baseball to its core? The answer came in the form of Rod Scurry, a former Pittsburgh Pirates pitcher who admitted to having a cocaine dependency and sought treatment. This seemingly personal struggle became the catalyst for a grand jury probe that would expose the dark underbelly of America's favorite pastime. His admission opened a Pandora's box, leading the FBI to investigate further and uncover a network of drug dealers supplying players across the league. As the investigation unfolded, it became clear that the problem was systemic. Rumors of illicit behavior had been swirling around certain players and teams for years. The FBI's relentless pursuit of the truth led to a shocking revelation. 7 men, including Curtis Strong, a clubhouse caterer for the Philadelphia Phillies, were indicted for selling cocaine to players. With the investigation progressing, it slowly peeled back layers of secrecy, starting with lower-level figures before exposing some of baseball's biggest stars. The media coverage of the investigation was extensive, with public interest in the potential testimonies of players who were seen as role models. Curtis Strong's trial became a focal point for exposing the widespread drug use in Major League Baseball. The courtroom fell silent as players prepared to testify. How deep did the cocaine problem really go in Major League Baseball? The truth, as it turned out, was more crazy than anyone could have imagined. John Milner, a former player for the New York Mets and Pittsburgh Pirates, testified that he had purchased cocaine right in the Pirates clubhouse during a game against the Houston Astros in 1980. Quote, "We sat and chatted a while, and I asked Curtis if he had any stuff," Milner recounted. "We went back into the restroom, we exchanged money, and I got the stuff." This admission showed just how casual drug transactions occurred within the team environment, even during games. Tim Raines, the Montreal Expos star leadoff hitter, provided another testimony. Raines admitted to keeping cocaine in his uniform pocket while playing and sliding headfirst to avoid breaking the vial. Quote, "It made me feel real good," Raines said. "I had to keep cool because of who I was, but it was a great experience." His words showed not only the prevalence of drug use, but also the lack of fear or concern about getting caught. Keith Hernandez, one of the biggest stars in the 1980s, delivered the most damning testimony of all. As mentioned before, he said about 40% of players were using cocaine in the early 1980s, describing it as, quote, the love affair years. The trials also brought to light the use of other substances in baseball. John Milner's testimony extended beyond cocaine, touching on the use of amphetamines in the sport. He claimed to have seen, quote, red juice, a liquid amphetamine, in Willie Mays' locker. While Milner never saw Mays use the substance, he admitted to taking it himself. Players who had once been revered for their on-field heroics now found themselves in the uncomfortable position of recounting their experiences with drug use. The revelations during these trials were compared to the Black Sox scandal in terms of their impact on the integrity of baseball. Keith Hernandez later referred to cocaine as the devil on this earth, a stark contrast to the casual attitude many players had displayed toward the drug during the height of its use. The Pittsburgh drug trials revealed a problem far more widespread than anyone had initially imagined. 21 players were implicated in the scandal, including some of the biggest names in baseball. We already mentioned Keith Hernandez, Tim Raines, and Dave Parker, among those who testified about their cocaine use. The breadth of the scandal was staggering, reaching across multiple teams and exposing a culture of drug use that became normalized within the league. Remember that Tim Raines admission that he kept cocaine in his uniform pocket while playing? This illustrated the extent of the problem. Players were not only using drugs off the field, but were bringing them onto the diamond. The involvement of team staff members like Curtis Strong, the Philadelphia Phillies clubhouse caterer, and again, even the Pirates mascot Kevin Coach, in facilitating drug transactions, demonstrated the problem extended beyond just the players. It had permeated into every level of the sport. So as the dust settled on the Pittsburgh trials, questions remain. How could baseball's top brass salvage the sport's tarnished image? Commissioner Peter Ueberroth's response would set off a chain reaction. Ueberroth, who had taken office just a year earlier, faced an unprecedented crisis. The cocaine scandal exposed a deep-rooted problem in the MLB, and the new commissioner needed to act decisively. His initial response was controversial and bold. He announced conditional suspensions for the players implicated in the trials. 7 players were initially suspended for a full year. 4 others received 60-day suspensions. But there was a catch. These suspensions were conditional. Players could avoid missing any games if they agreed to a set of stringent conditions. The terms of those conditional suspensions were unprecedented in professional sports. Players were required to donate 10% of their base salaries to drug abuse programs, perform 100 hours of community service, and submit to random drug testing for the remainder of their careers. It was a message that was clear from Ueberroth. Drug use would no longer be tolerated in baseball. However, the commissioner's plan faced immediate challenges. The MLB Players Association, the powerful union representing the players, refused to agree to mandatory drug testing. The resistance complicated Ueberroth's effort to implement a comprehensive drug policy. In a surprising turn of events, Ueberroth ultimately decided to commute all the penalties. Instead of serving suspensions, players were allowed to pay fines, perform community service, and submit to drug testing. This decision was met with mixed reactions. Some praised Ueberroth for finding a middle ground that allowed players to continue their careers while still facing consequences. Others criticized the move as too lenient, arguing that it failed to send a strong enough message about the seriousness of drug use in the sport. The aftermath of these trials and Ueberroth's response showed the need for more comprehensive reforms in MLB's drug policy. While the conditional suspensions and fines were a start, they were clearly not enough to address the systemic issues exposed by the scandal. The league would need to develop more robust drug testing programs, improve player education about substance abuse, and create clearer consequences for drug use. And despite the criticism, Ueberroth's actions marked a turning point for Major League Baseball. For the first time, the league had publicly acknowledged the extent of its drug problem and taken concrete steps to address it. 4 players like Dave Parker and Keith Hernandez, the aftermath of the trials offered a chance at redemption. Despite their involvement in the scandal, both managed to revitalize their careers. Parker went on to have productive seasons with the Cincinnati Reds and Oakland Athletics, even winning the World Series with the A's in 1989. Hernandez continued to be a key player for the New York Mets helping them secure a World Series title in 1986. However, not all players were able to bounce back. Rod Scurry, whose admission of cocaine dependency had sparked the investigation, faced a tragic end. Despite attempts at rehabilitation, Scurry struggled with addiction for years after the trials. In 1992, he died from a cocaine-related heart attack at the age of 36. Some players like Tim Raines managed to overcome their involvement in the scandal and went on to have Hall of Fame careers. Raines' eventual induction in 2017 showed that, for some, redemption was possible. However, others like Willie Aikens faced ongoing legal troubles and addiction issues that derailed their lives and careers. The 1985 Pittsburgh drug trials exposed widespread cocaine use in Major League Baseball, forcing the sport to confront its demons. The scandal won players and revealed a culture where drug use was normalized. MLB's response, led by Commissioner Peter Ueberroth, included conditional suspensions and fines, but faced criticism for being too lenient. The trials served as a wake-up call for baseball, prompting reforms in drug policies and player support systems. Again, some players salvaged their careers, others faced tragic consequences. The scandal's legacy shaped MLB's approach to substance abuse, influencing later responses to issues like steroids. Today, professional sports continue to grapple with integrity and player welfare. As new challenges arise in sports, whether it's performance enhancers or mental health struggles, the lessons of 1985 remind us that every generation must confront its own demons. The real test is how we learn from the past. Thanks so much for watching. Check out these videos right here. We'll see you next time.